There's a number sitting on the other side of your worst year, and once you cross it, your brain stops working the way it used to. Not your bank balance, your actual brain. That number is 10,000, and almost nobody in the UK talks about what it does to you psychologically, because everyone's too busy talking about what it does to your ISA. Right now, if you've got less than $1,000 saved, you are not unusual. You are not behind some invisible schedule everyone else is quietly hitting. Over a third of adults in this country are sitting on a buffer that wouldn't survive one broken boiler and a bad month. That's not a personal failing. That's what happens when rent takes a third of your wage before you've bought a single thing you actually want. Here's what nobody explains properly. Being broke isn't just uncomfortable, it's cognitively expensive. Psychologists call it scarcity mindset, and the basic idea is simple. Your brain only has so much bandwidth, and when a chunk of it is permanently occupied with, "Can I afford this?" there's less left over for everything else. Decision-making gets worse. Planning gets worse. Even your mood gets worse because your nervous system is quietly treating every unexpected cost like a threat. A parking fine isn't annoying anymore. It's a 5-day spiral. That's not weakness. That's a brain running an emergency protocol it was never designed to run for years at a time. So, why 10,000 specifically? 3 reasons, and they stack. Reason 1 is the buffer. For most people in the UK, 10,000 covers somewhere between 4 and 6 months of genuinely essential costs. Rent, bills, food, transport. That's the exact zone where survival brain switches off. Below that line, a bad month is a crisis. Above it, a bad month is just a bad month. You still feel it, but it doesn't threaten the whole structure of your life anymore. Reason 2 is the door it opens. Your annual tax-free ISA allowance sits at 20,000. 10 grand isn't just a nice round figure, it's exactly half of that. The moment you hold it, you've stopped being someone who occasionally throws leftover money into a current account earning nothing. And you've become someone actually using the tax shelter that's sitting there the whole time, doing nothing for you until you show up. Reason 3 is the one that actually rewires you, and it's entirely psychological. Below 10,000, almost every financial decision you make is reactive. You're clearing an overdraft. You're catching up on something that already went wrong. You're always one step behind your own life. Above it, for possibly the first time, you get to be proactive. You're not managing the past anymore. You're building towards something that hasn't happened yet. That shift, from reacting to choosing, is the actual prize. The money is just the receipt. And this is where it gets interesting, because the real change isn't the number in your account. It's the story you've been quietly carrying about yourself. Maybe you've told yourself for years that you're just not good with money. That saving is something other people are wired for, and you're not. That belief feels like a fact. It isn't. It's a habit wearing a disguise. Once you've done that with 10,000, you know something about yourself that you didn't know before. You negotiate differently because you're not terrified of losing the job. You make calmer decisions because there's a foundation under you now instead of nothing. Let's talk about why the early stage feels so pointless. Because this is where most people quit. A 5% return on one bend is 50s a year. That's barely a takeaway. It's genuinely hard to stay motivated when the reward is invisible. But 5% on 10,000 is 500 a year, and 500 is not invisible. That's a flight somewhere. That's a meaningful dent in a bill. And you didn't do anything extra to earn it. It happened while you were asleep. That's the exact point saving stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like a system quietly working on your behalf. And once that system is running, something bigger opens up, which is the actual point of all this. Real financial freedom in this country was never about luxury. It's about the ability to say no. 10,000 means you can walk away from a job that's making you miserable because you've got runway underneath you. It means you can take a calculated risk on something because failure won't wipe you out. It means you can wait for the right decision instead of panic choosing the only decision available to you. Every one of those is a form of power, and every one of them is bought with the exact same figure. So, here's how you actually get there. 3 steps. Step 1 is an honest audit, not a punishing one. Look at what's actually a need versus what's a want dressed up as one. Rent's a need. The subscription you forgot about isn't. This isn't about depriving yourself. It's about finding the money that's already leaking out quietly every month. Step 2 is automation. And this is the step that actually works long term. The moment you get paid, before you can spend it, a set amount moves automatically into a savings account. Not whatever's left at the end of the month, because there's never anything left at the end of the month. You pay your future self first, and you never have to rely on willpower again, because willpower runs out and a standing order doesn't. Step 3 is the harder truth. You can't save your way to real freedom on cutting alone. The gap between what you earn and what you spend is the only thing that ever builds real savings. And that gap has two sides. You can shrink your spending, sure, but at some point you also have to grow your income. Ask for the raise, build the skill that makes you worth more. A gap that only shrinks from one side grows painfully slowly. A gap that widens from both sides is what actually moves you. So, here's the honest truth to close on. Your first 10,000s will be the hardest money you ever save. Not because the amount itself is enormous, but because you're fighting two things at once. Years of old habits, and a country that genuinely isn't built to make saving easy right now. That's exactly why so few people get there. But think about a snowball at the top of a hill. At the start, every single inch needs a push. It's slow, it barely feels like it's moving, and it's tempting to assume it never will. Then it hits a certain size, and suddenly the hill starts doing the work instead of you. 10,000 is that size. Get there, and everything after it stops being uphill. If this gave you something to think about, hit like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.